What is up? Most likely you clicked on this video because you are a incoming freshman or transfer to UCSB, and thank you for clicking. I'm going to be giving you a little PSA, what I think are important things to know before you come into UCSB as a student. First things first, let's talk about IV, which is Isla Vista for short. That's the little town that is adjacent to the school where most UCSB students and the SBCC, the Santa Barbara Community School students, live. So it's a very young neighborhood, very close to campus. So if you do end up living in IV, here are some important tips that I want to give you. So first things first, let's talk about housing in IV. And my advice is, if you're trying to dodge the party scene, dodge the streets closest to the beach. That's where the parties are happening. That's DP, Del Playa, Salvador Tarde, Trigo, and Sueño mostly. Those streets are where I notice the most parties and honestly the most noise. So if you're trying to dodge the noise and the hecticness, my recommendation is to go further from the beach. The beach will still be walking distance, so don't worry about having to take other transportation to the beach. But moving out further from the beach, like right off the beach, you're gonna get a lesser noise and less parties, which if you're trying to dodge parties, that's my advice to you. And if you're trying to be in the party, my advice is to do exactly the opposite of what I just said and live on those 4 streets or streets close to those streets, and you'll be right there with the party. Another piece of advice is finding housing. If you're trying to live with your friends or you're just trying to live on a certain street, like I'm saying, if you're trying to be on DP, on Salvador Tarde, with your friends, like a big group, and take over a whole apartment or a whole house, whatever your plan is, my advice to you is start looking in fall quarter. So yeah, if you're coming in this fall, my advice is start to look in like November, December. That sounds early, I know, but if you have a certain place in mind, that's the best time to find it. Otherwise, you wait a little bit too long and it'll be booked, or you won't be able to live with all your friends together. And if that's what you want to do, yeah, start looking early. If not, if you're just trying to find a place for yourself, you don't have to worry about it in fall quarter. You honestly could wait until spring quarter if you're by yourself and you don't really care where you live. Super easy. I'll tell you where to look for housing and all that stuff later in the video, so keep on watching for that. But yeah, that's my advice for housing. Another thing about housing though, this is a warning, it's housing management. My advice for this is to do your research. Sometimes these companies are just so hit and miss. You'll have a great management company sometimes, or you'll have a horrible one. My personal horror story about this is I leased with Wolf & Associates, which is a company out here, and I don't know if we just had a bad apartment and they didn't know how to manage this apartment correctly, but we dealt with black mold, we dealt with cockroaches, and we dealt with these things all year, which sucked. And they do these minor little fixes, but the cockroaches wouldn't go away and the black mold was always there. And that's just one situation, and I've heard other horror stories just like that from other companies and in other places. So my advice about housing is do your research with the company and ask the people that live there now. Ask them to be honest with you and tell you if there's anything wrong with the place. Like I'm saying, it's super hit and miss. Do your research. The last thing I want to talk about in regards to IV is the parking in IV. And what sucks about this is I have no good news for you. Parking sucks out here. Over the summer, it does get a little better in the month of June. And other than June, you're gonna be driving around a couple blocks, driving around a few minutes, most likely. Sometimes you will get lucky and find a spot right in front of your place and just realize that that is gold right there. Most of the time, you'll be driving around for a while. And if you leave at the wrong time or you come back at the wrong time, you might be driving around a little bit more than you want. And if that sounds miserable to you, check out some parking passes they have on campus. They have little parking lots where you can park your car there for the year. You'll have a for sure spot every time you leave and come back. So if that sounds good to you, look into that. But if you're like me and you're cheap, just good luck with the parking out here and get some patience because you might be driving around quite a bit. Now, if you're wondering about how you're gonna get to and from campus, this part will be for you. My recommendation is to look into getting a bike. If you know how to ride a bike or you're interested in riding a bike, check it out, because the school is built for biking, and by that I mean there's just bike paths everywhere so you can get from one side of campus to the other quickly. So I've had situations where I've had one class way over here, like in IV, and then one on the other side of campus. So if I was walking or skateboarding, I would not get there in time. I'd have like 10 to 15 minutes to get to my class. So biking was essential in those times. So my personal opinion is check out a bike. And then later on in this video, I will be showing you where to go to find like a used, cheaper bike rather than going to a store and to get one. And no shade to buying a new bike. Like, I bought my bike new, bought it in a little shop in IV. But if you are on a stricter budget and you want to get a used bike, later on in the video I'll show you where to do that. So in this little part I'll be telling you actually about Facebook, which I know sounds surprising, but Facebook is actually pretty useful in college. I use Facebook, and I recommend using Facebook to find your housing, to find your like a ride back home, to and from home. You could find that on Facebook. You could find used books for sale, used clothes for sale, new stuff for sale too. I just bought a new phone off this, what I'm talking about. So definitely look in that. And also to get a new bike or a used bike, you could get it off Facebook also. So in the screen I just listed the free and for sale, UCSB's free and for sale, UCSB's housing, UCSB's meme page, and also UCSB's rideshare. If you see these when you look them up, that's what I'm talking about. Try to join those, and that's honestly where you can get the best deals for some things. And my recommendation is check there before you check anywhere else. If you're trying to buy a book, trying to get a house, or trying to get a ride home, it's pretty cheap. All these ways I found were super helpful. And also using Facebook to find events. The AS, what is it called? It's like AS Student Body. They have their own Facebook page. Like them and you'll see all these different events. So yeah, definitely check that out. Thank you guys for watching this short PSA for all future UCSB students. I hope some things I told you were helpful. If there's anything else you want to know, let me know in the comments below. I could answer any of your questions. Thanks you guys for watching.